the timing of the Super Bowl means that a European audience, unless you're a diehard fan like yourself, will never watch the Super Bowl, right? Has the US ever thought about moving it to maybe 1, 2 p.m. East Coast time, so it's evening European and kind of Africa time, that part of the world, and therefore excluding Asia? Or do they want to capture like that Asian Australian audience? Or do they just not care and it's a US sport, it's a US thing, and fuck everyone else, we're the United States of America?
I think it's just a case of they want to catch the primetime East Coast market, have it as late as possible for the West Coast market. If you had it early on the East Coast, people in the West Coast end up having their Super Bowl, with breakfast, which at the end of the day, it's meant to be like the official, unofficial holiday of the US, Super Bowl Sunday. Well, okay, so the Super Bowl's like the grand crescendo, obviously, the final, if you will, of the NFL season to crown who is going to be champion of the NFL that year. And obviously the NFL is the US's biggest sport. So because of the importance of that being kind of the be-all and end-all of the biggest sport in the US, and American football is such an American game, it just kind of embodies a lot of that US spirit, the drive, the fight, the desire, the working hard. You can turn it into that going for the American dream however you want. And the NFL is set up so that you can have the best team in the NFL gets help. The worst team in the NFL gets help the following season to try and become a better team by getting the best players coming out of college go to the worst teams, etc. So it's this whole, we were the worst, but 3 years ago we were terrible, and now we're the greatest side on the planet. Oh my goodness, living the American dream with hard work and dedication. So that's the kind of the importance of the sporting event that we're talking about, with all of that US charm laid on so thick. You then get Super Bowl Sunday, which is, as I say, an official, unofficial holiday in the US, because the US has more televisions sold in the week before the Super Bowl than any other week of the year, because people will buy brand new TVs for their Super Bowl parties. Like, families will gather, streets will come together. The Jubilee, when everybody had the bunting up, that's Super Bowl Sunday once a year, every single year, for Americans and American sports fans. And there will be people that don't care, but now Taylor Swift is there as well with the Chiefs. Obviously, there's a few of those that didn't used to care that now care a little bit more. So the viewers just keep going up and up and up. And the Monday after the Super Bowl is the most taken day off sick in the US. They have more people taking sick days than any other day officially. So it's just a party day. And so they wouldn't move it from where it is, because they get kind of prime time on the East Coast. They get a nice afternoon time on the West Coast, which allows people to gather their friends, have food, have drink, do all that. And let's face it, like, the alcohol is very important when it comes to a Super Bowl party, because the alcohol sponsors of the NFL pay a lot of money. I think it's $8 million for a 30-second advert during the Super Bowl, because it's the most watched sporting event in the US of the whole year. So it's a huge, huge event, with people that don't like the sport will go to a Super Bowl party because they like watching the funny adverts or the Kendrick Lamar halftime show, because they have a half-an-hour halftime to have a big musical act playing. So it is the be-all and end-all of sporting Americana. And while the NFL has been great in terms of bringing games globally, they're obviously going to Australia in 2026. They're bringing a game to Ireland next year as well. So there's going to be 4 games between London and Ireland next year, let alone the game in Madrid and in Germany as well. So they're being great at passing this out and giving us kind of football, American football at times that Europeans can feast on. But the Super Bowl isn't going anywhere out of that time slot, because if you want to watch it, the Americans are like, this is the biggest event. It has been the biggest event for so many years. Yes, World Cups get more viewers, etc., but this is our event, and you will come to it, and you will flock to it to view it, so you're going to watch it when we put it on.
Do you think the World Cup, obviously the World Cup final is the immediate comparison here, because it gets, 3 billion viewers as opposed to the 500 million or whatever the Super Bowl gets. But do you think, Ollie, that that's a bit artificial in the sense that traditionally World Cups, a lot of World Cups have been held in Europe, and our time zone is the sweet spot for the world, because it means that you can, if you have an 8 p.m. kickoff, UK time, 9 p.m. in Europe, it means you can capture the entirety of the Americas. You know, South America obviously love their sport. You've got North America, and also you will still get like Australia and Japan and all those guys kind of morning time. So do you think there's a kind of an artificial element there where just the sheer timing of the World Cup final of when it's on means it can capture more of a global share? I say this because if the Super Bowl was on at 8 in the morning UK time, or mate, even if it was on at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning, I'd get out for it. But people on a Sunday night tuning in at 11:30 just doesn't work.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I also, I wouldn't say the World Cup is artificially kind of generated views in that sense because of the sweet spot of timing. I think also it's just a more global sport, right? I mean, the NFL is trying to become that global sport, but for so many years, the one game that was shown on UK television would be the Super Bowl, and everything else you either caught up with. I think there used to be like a highlight show back in the day, but we didn't have live games being broadcast to the UK or anything like that. And I think as well, if you become a bit of an American football fan and you start going through the 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock kind of shifts, you'll inevitably end up staying up for one really late night game on a Sunday at some point. And because it's not a 1 a.m. start like the latest games on a Sunday and Monday night in the UK are, and actually it's 11:30 kickoff, it goes through till like 3, but you can go to bed at 3 and get up at 9 and have had 6 hours. Like, that's not the worst sleep in the world. I mean, I'll tell you, I did.
There speaks a man that those listeners with 2 kids and a 9 to 5 are just going to have their jaw hit the floor. Ollie's saying, just fucking power through and watch it.
I'm sorry, but if you've got 2 kids, you know about the lack of sleep, so you can survive anyway, right? If you've been through those nights of not having any sleep and trying to struggle through it. So the Super Bowl's no different. I mean, you love your child. How much do you love the Super Bowl? Come on, like. And I got to say, I do adore the Super Bowl. It's great. It's always been special to me staying up for it. There's nothing better than being tired. So your body's so shattered, and yet there's a spectacle in front of you that is either so close, fought, and gripping that you just can't take your eyes off it. You have to find out who's going to win. We didn't get that this year, but that was fine.